I have only ever played this one once, maybe twice, because it could get me in serious trouble if I'm not careful. Because it violates like all kinds of terms of service just to play this video, just to play it. This is Andrew Womack. If you're unfamiliar, he's a televangelist, a hate preacher, so on and so forth. He's on Kenneth Copeland's TV network, the Victory Channel. And the Victory Channel also has this show called Flashpoint, where they have televangelists on all the time. Well, Andrew Womack decided to go on Flashpoint to talk to them as a prophetic voice or whatever. You know how it goes. They're complaining about the fact right now that Biden offered to close the border. He requested a bill, or he wrote a bill or something, to do exactly what Republicans want done with the border. Which, by the way, isn't even really a problem. But okay, you know. Take the wind out of their sails. They want to complain about the border? Okay. Tell them that you'll fix it. And what happened? These people are on here saying, no, I don't want to fix the border now because it's you fixing it. Donald Trump actually came in and said to congressmen, do not let this bill pass because I want to fix the border. I do not want them to fix the border. I don't want Biden to fix it. I don't want him to look good. So the point is obvious, right? They don't care. When I say they, I mean Republicans, particularly the ones here on screen, the ones on Flashpoint here. These people do not care about the border. Never did. They care about making Democrats look bad. That's it. Our old buddy Andrew Womack here is about to tell us about all of this stuff. He's about to lay it out for us. But let me introduce you to him if you're unfamiliar. By the way, while we listen to this isn't part one. If you miss the others, don't sweat it. I'll provide context if it's missing. And also, we're going to play some Final Fantasy VII Remake while we listen to this stuff. Just something to do. Anyway, if you don't know Andrew Womack, let me introduce you to him. This clip is from 2022, mid-January 2022.
I tell you, partnership in the gospel is the greatest thing you can do.
Partnership being... send me your money. It means you have sent our ministry money and now you're a partner, quote unquote. It means nothing, just tithing, basically.
When we get to heaven, I can guarantee you there's not a single one of you that's going to be saying, I wish you hadn't have encouraged me to give so much and that I'd have got my 5th flat screen TV and that I would have had more jewels and fancier clothes and a nicer car. All that stuff will be gone. It's only what you invest in the kingdom that is going to benefit you for eternity. You're going to come up to me and hug my neck and kiss me and say, thank you for getting that money out of my pocket.
Should give you an idea of what kind of person this guy is. Let me show you another one. This one is from 2022 also. It's from mid-September 2022.
A friend of mine in Illinois actually knows a teacher that comes to school as a furry and wears ears and a tail and uses a litter box at the front of the classroom to relieve himself.
The teacher does this. You know, I think the most implausible part of this whole story is that Andrew Womack has a friend. Okay. So, yeah, that's Andrew Womack. I have only ever played this one once, maybe twice, because it could get me in serious trouble if I'm not careful. Because it violates like all kinds of terms of service just to play this video, just to play it. Before we listen, let me tell you what's happening here. This was from 2020. It was immediately after COVID hit and was a problem. And Andrew Womack comes out here and says this about COVID.
That no sickness would even come nigh our dwelling. And Daniel, something I've been studying just in the last couple of days based on all of this was Exodus 23:25. And that verse says that you shall serve the Lord your God and he shall take away all sickness away from the midst of thee. And I looked up those words in the Hebrew, and the word take and away, the word on either side of sickness, it literally means to turn off.
Wow.
He will.
Yeah, I simply don't believe him. I don't believe anything that he says about the Old Testament or the original language or whatever other thing. But either way, well, you know what he's claiming here, right? He's claiming that the Bible foretold that COVID would come around. He says that God knew it was on its way, and he put it in there specifically that he would turn off the sickness, turn off the genes or whatever. Quick note before we continue, I want to let you know I just wrote a book. If you want to check it out, owenmorgan.com/book. It's a book about my experiences within Jehovah's Witnesses. It's completely understandable if you know nothing about Jehovah's Witnesses. And if you're a Christian, it's a good reference to use for why Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong about their interpretation of the Bible. The last chapter of the book is 100 questions that I have for the governing body. I'm selling the last chapter separately as its own separate guide if you guys want to get that too. So check it out, owenmorgan.com/book. I'd appreciate that.
Turn off sickness, and it was put in there twice just to emphasize that, you know, whatever receptors you have in your body that make you receptive to sickness, he'll turn it off.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's a great revelation.
That's not real.
I've got all of that on our website. You can go study those things.
Anyway, what he was saying is that Christians are immune from COVID. That's why it was against all terms of service to play. I think it's probably safe to play now after COVID has kind of calmed down a lot. I have a bunch of clips of Andrew Womack where he says things like that I just could not play. See if I can play a couple that would get banned if I tried before. Let's see if I can find some. Here you go. This one would have gotten me banned from YouTube before. Let's see if it gets me banned now.
See, when you put things into perspective, it changes. And these other pandemics that happen.
This is late April 2020, by the way, immediately after COVID started being taken seriously in the U.S.
You know, I remember the swine flu in 1918. I studied about it, and 95...
He remembers the swine flu in 1918. He studied about it. The swine flu happened under Obama, I think. The Spanish flu happened in Trump keeps messing it up. Yeah, 1918. The Spanish flu happened in 1918. Is he talking about the Spanish flu? Says he read all about it, huh? Okay.
The swine flu in 1918, I studied about it, and 95% of the people who got the swine flu died. Now it's...
I mean, everything he's saying here is either a lie, misinterpretation, misconstrued, at best. Sometimes it's just incorrect by mistake. And sometimes it's correct by sheer blind luck. So don't trust anything here.
Less than 5%, somewhere around 1% for the coronavirus if you include all of the people that don't have the symptoms. It's relatively insignificant. See?
You catch what he said? He said the death rate for the swine flu, quote unquote, in 1918 was over 90%. And the death rate for the coronavirus is less than 1%. Does it get any, more depraved than that? Being willing to lie to your audience immediately after a pandemic starts. How many people do you think died because of the things that this guy said immediately after COVID started? It's not zero. I guarantee you that. Look at this one. This one was from mid-July 2020. So this is about 6 months after COVID started being taken seriously.
Did you know if you get tested for the COVID-19 virus, if you've had a flu shot, then you test positive?
False. Completely different viruses, not related in any way, really. If you got a flu shot, you did not and do not test positive for COVID. I mean, you're seeing why this stuff is banned from YouTube now, right?
If you've had a cold, you test positive. If you've had the flu, because all of those things are COVID. COVID-19 is the 19th different COVID virus.
Oh, this is so funny, dude. He is so unknowledgeable, it's hilarious. It's the 19th different virus, he says. Not that it was discovered in 2019, but that it's the 19th virus in the line. We got COVID-16, COVID-12, COVID-1 apparently is out there.
19th different COVID virus. A cold, the common cold is a COVID virus. The flu is a...
The flu and the cold are not COVID viruses. The flu, some of the viruses that cause the common cold are coronaviruses. It's a class of virus where it has like a crown shape. That's what it means, coronavirus. It means crown shape, basically. But it doesn't mean that it is COVID or that it is the common cold. Did any of this matter? I mean, this is a real situation that could really get people killed. And this guy didn't bother to even look up the most basic information about it. He called it the swine flu in 1918. He didn't look up anything.
Is a COVID virus. The flu is a COVID virus.
No, it's not in any way.
And so anyway, they're saying that this inflates the numbers.
Who's they? Who says that exactly? Can you cite your source? Tell me who they is, Andrew. Anyway, he's just a dangerous person for his audience. He's dangerous.
The one that
he gets people killed with the stupid things that he says. So that's who we're working with now. He went on Flashpoint to talk about the border and how Biden tried to pass a border bill to limit how many people can come over the U.S.-Mexico border. And Republicans are intentionally blocking it while screaming about the border and how bad it is and blah, 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 blah. Let's listen to what he says here. It's just shameless, man.
Here.
Well, first of all, the Democrats are the one that created the border crisis, and now they're trying...
Wait, how? I'm sorry. I'm stopping every 5 seconds, but I got to point out that border policy is almost no different under Biden than it was under Trump. What did Democrats do specifically that, quote-unquote, caused a border crisis?
Trying to make it look like they're the ones who's fixing it, and if any Republicans stand against it, they're the ones that have caused the problem, and that is just absolutely a lie.
Oh, great, then pass the bill. Boom, problem solved. And if it doesn't solve the border problem, then you'll know that that's the plan all along, right? Why do you care? Just let them pass the bill. They don't want to let them pass the bill because it would appear as though they were doing something to fix it. And they can't have that.
I've heard that there's over 6 million illegal aliens, and I forget the numbers, but it's hundreds of thousands every single month that are coming in, and that...
I've heard that there are 6 million illegal aliens. Okay. Either they don't know or they pretend not to know that most, or many at least, many immigrants come in legally and overstay their visas. That's a lot of undocumented workers. That's where they came from. They're just like undocumented people. Okay, it's 10,000 migrants per day, mostly asylum seekers. And I don't even know if I can, trust that source. I think I'm seeing it. So as far as I can tell, the majority of immigrants, the majority of people who are coming over the border are refugees, which are legal entries. They are legally allowed to enter the United States through a humanitarian corridor and reach a refugee center to apply for asylum. That is a completely legal process. They are not here illegally. I don't know how many non-asylum seeking people are coming over the border, but asylum seekers combined with migrants make up about somewhere around 200,000 a month, which is pretty high, but it's a seasonal thing because wars are easier to fight in certain months because you don't have to keep them warm, for example, the troops, if, in the winter. That's why you want to start the war near the end of winter, but not quite into summer, that kind of thing. You want to be careful to start it during a time where it's not going to be very rainy because tanks aren't going to be able to make it through mud as easily, that kind of thing, right? So It's a seasonal thing when refugees are coming through the border. And it's also seasonal for migrants who are trying to work, like who are trying to get jobs in the United States. So in December, there were 225,000 migrants, or just 225,000 people who crossed the border, including asylum seekers, most of which were asylum seekers. I'm not sure what that means exactly, and I'm not even sure if I can trust that because this is from CBS News. But, I like to get really controversial information like that from Reuters or AP News or something like that. I don't know what he's talking about. 6 million? 6 million what?
They're the ones that have caused the problem, and that is just absolutely a lie. I've heard that there's over 6 million illegal aliens, and I forget the
6 million illegal aliens. Does he mean 6 million undocumented immigrants in the United States? Or I'm not sure.
I've heard that there's over 6 million illegal aliens, and I forget the numbers, but it's hundreds of thousands every single month that are coming in, and that
200,000 in the month of December, as far as I can tell, the majority of which were asylum seekers, which are here 100% legally. I don't know how many migrants crossed actually illegally, but my guess would be somewhere around between 10 and 50,000 that were not like asylum seekers.
That is totally created by Biden not enforcing the law. He doesn't have to do immigration reform. If he would just enforce the laws that are on the books.
Yeah, bro, what are you talking about? What law is Biden not enforcing? Are you kidding me? Biden asked for money and, emergency authority and everything else to get down there and enforce laws. The reason he's not is because they're not granting him the power to. What do you mean Biden isn't down there doing it or whatever? It's a complete joke. These people are shameless liars.
If he would put it back into effect, the things that he canceled from Trump when the illegal immigration was way low.
Wait, what? What did he cancel that was under Trump? Separating children from parents? Is that what he canceled? I know he canceled that one.
If he hadn't have changed things, we wouldn't be in this problem.
Well, he didn't. Biden didn't change anything except for the fact that he's not separating parents from children anymore, and he's trying to reunite them. That's it. This is just shameless, man.
So for them to come up and now act like we've got the solution, the only reason they're doing this is because elections are coming up and immigration is a losing issue, and so they're trying to make it look like they are doing something about it, and yet they're the ones that created this border crisis.
Okay, great. Well, let them do something about it then. You are literally preventing anybody from doing anything about it. You claim that they created the crisis. Fine. Okay, fine. Whatever. They created the crisis if that's what you want. They didn't. But let's just say they did for the sake of argument. Let them fix it. Why is Donald Trump meddling with politics and seeming intentionally refusing to let anybody do anything to fix a problem that he's complaining about? This is just embarrassing. Oh, your book is on Etsy, says KJ Dog Love. Yes. I decided to go with Etsy because some of the websites that I could have used, Indiegogo is a common one, or GoFundMe. But I didn't want it to be a donation system. I wanted it to be an exchange system. I didn't want to just take money from people and then do whatever. I wanted to, set up a system where it's an exchange of goods. I'm getting something and you're getting something in return. And in addition to that, there is a company between us that can redress problems. That can fix it. Somebody isn't happy with the book. They don't want the book, or they don't need it anymore or something. You can just cancel and it's no big deal. Getting a refund back from Indiegogo is not easy from my understanding. So anyway, that's why I decided to go with Etsy for now. I'm going to put it on Amazon. I'm going to put it on, hell, maybe I'll get it in Books A Million and Borders bookstores and all the others too, maybe. And I'll certainly get it on the Kindle store and in audio form on Audible. But this is how I'm doing my pre-order system. You can get it signed too, absolutely. And I did set it up in such a way that if people want, they can donate a little bit extra, like $15 extra. It's up to you. Cool, I went on Audible. Sounds good. That's months away. Oh, yeah, I'll be reading it for sure. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to be doing the whole thing myself. I'm going to read the whole thing out. I'm going to do all of the edits, everything. And then I'm going to release it to the Audible store. I found out through this whole process that Amazon takes 15% of the revenue from the book. Etsy takes 6.5%. But I have to do all of the order processing, put the book in a, sign it, put it in an envelope, and print the label and everything else. Amazon does all that stuff for me if I send it to them. I will be sending it to Amazon, but Etsy is a good way to do it for now. Anyway. All right, let's keep listening. Sorry for the distraction there. owenmorgan.com/book.
And it's all smoke and mirror, accusing your adversaries of the very things that you're guilty of is what they're doing.
Yeah, smoke and mirror is exactly right.
Oh, great. Smoke and mirror is fine. Let us fix it then. Why aren't they going to let anybody fix the problems that they're complaining about? I don't understand.
Let me show you this. In fact, I'm going to bring in Kylie Jean Tannehill is here early, so I'm going to bring her in to comment on this. This is Representative Anna Paulina Luna. In honor of Chuck Schumer, I'll be introducing a bill that requires any politician who advocates for sending American troops to Ukraine to be required to fight on the front lines right there with them.
A politician who advocates for sending troops to Ukraine. A politician will be required to fight alongside them. Okay, that's not legally binding. That cannot possibly be legally binding. You cannot serve as a senator or a member of the House or whatever while you are in the military on the front lines, first of all. And second, that is not what Chuck Schumer did. Chuck Schumer, if you missed it previously, I think it might have been the last part. Chuck Schumer said, if we don't stop Russia in eastern Ukraine, he's going to continue on to Poland or Finland or a variety of other countries. And NATO is going to be legally obligated to protect those countries because we're members of NATO, and so are they. We must protect them if Russia attacks them. Do you want that? If you don't want that, we need to support the people that are fighting them now. Because we're next in line to solve this problem. That's what Chuck Schumer said. And aside from that, that's like way down the line, so I don't want to hear it. It's just like these people are insane. I was wondering how they were going to spin this whole thing. How are they going to take a situation where Biden wants to solve the border problem, as they call it, a border problem that doesn't even really exist. He wants to solve it. How are they going to spin that into Biden bad, and we're saying no because we just don't want it? I was wondering what their excuse would be, and here's their excuse. Their excuse is, well, we don't want to support Ukraine. We want Ukraine to be given over to Russia, apparently. So until Ukraine's given over to Russia, I guess we're not going to try to fix the border or something. Insane.
What do you think, Kylie Jean?
Not a bad idea.
I think that's a pretty good counteroffer that she has there. I agree with Andrew and Hank that this is exactly smoke and mirrors, and it's just a beautiful verbal distraction and propaganda.
Fine, if that's what it is, let them do it. Who cares?
Propaganda move to get Americans distracted and completely uneducated when it comes to our border issue. We are funneling
distracted from the border issue. I mean, it was a really smart political move what Biden did. I want to fix it. I have a bill here. Let's fix it together. Let me solve the border problem for you. I want to do that. And what did they say? No. They said no. Because they don't want the border fixed. It was a genius political move, in my opinion. Really, really well done by Biden. and others. If there's one thing that you can say about Biden, it's that he's been a politician since 1927 or something, and he knows how to do politics. He knows how to do it.
In terrorists and immigrants that are creating a war from within. So they want us to get distracted on what's happening on the outside because we will crumble from within if it's not taken care of.
Nonsense. Let them fix it then. You know what? If it doesn't fix it, if their bill isn't going to resolve the problem the way that they seem to think it will, or that the way they seem to think it won't, then pass the bill. I don't understand.
Let me show you what Senator Mike Lee from Ukraine, he had to say about all of this. I don't have it, guys, here in my, but I know that there's a tweet there. Can you show that?
Dude, Mike Lee is insane.
Fun fact, U.S. Marine, look, let me sum it up. The whole budget for 23 was $53 billion. They're wanting to send 60 to Ukraine. This is crazy, Kylie.
Wait, the Marine budget was $53 billion? Okay, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's very obviously propagandistic and misleading. The military budget for 2023 was not $53 billion. As of December 12th, 2022, the House and Senate versions of the FY 2023 National Defense Authorization Act were to be $839 billion and $847 billion for the HASC and SASC, respectively, for a compromise of $858 billion top line. So basically, military budget for fiscal year 2023 was actually $850 billion, basically. And these people are making it out like what do you call it? Like we're spending just as much on Ukraine as we're spending on the United States. Like, give me a break.
Gene, this is crazy what they're trying to do.
Yeah, we've already sent over millions and billions with a B. It's interesting because war always seems to be really profitable, and especially when it comes into election season. And so my encouragement right now to every single American, especially born again believers, is this is why discernment is so key and why it's so important that we're educated on the issues of the time, what is happening, and to be able to address the underlying reality so that we can peer through the deception that's at play.
The money that we are sending to Ukraine is not even money. I think like half of it is money or something like that. It's the best money that we have ever spent being used to take down, or to shame at the very least, a historical adversary. Most of, or at the very least about half of what we're spending on Ukraine is actually our own supplies that need to be replaced right now anyway. We have to replace our supplies about every 5 years or so. That includes our helmets and our blankets and our guns and our everythings. It all has to be replaced over time. This is a perfect opportunity to replace our parts. Send them over to Ukraine so that they're not going to waste, and replace them, buy new ones here in America, as we were going to in the first place. So at least half of the money that we're spending isn't even really being spent, or it was going to be spent anyway. This is not like a situation in which they're taking more money than they should or any of that stuff. This is just fabricated nonsense, all of it.
Happening, and to be able to address the underlying reality so that we can peer through.
I think she means underlying reality, okay?
Happening, and to be able to address the underlying reality so that we can peer through the deception that's at play.
Let me show you this. Here's Alex Bersowitz shows this full list of Senate Republicans trying to kill uniparty border bill. Marsha Blackburn, Ted Cruz, Steve Daines, Josh Hawley, Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, Rand Paul, Marco Rubio, Rick Scott, Eric Schmidt, J.D.
Okay, these people that they're listing are partisan hacks. They're only doing this because it's useful to them to prevent Biden from getting a W, to prevent Biden from fixing a problem. That's why this is happening. Ted Cruz, Marsha Blackburn, Josh Hawley, Ron Johnson, so on and so forth. They are only doing this because they don't want the problem to be solved by Biden. They want it solved by Trump. That is it. That is the lowest, dirtiest scumbag move that I think I've seen in a while.
Vance, Tommy Tuberville. The reason I read those, because that's who you need to be looking at. These are people, you need to take note of who's standing up and who's cowering. And these guys are standing up. They're coming against this.
These people are complete scumbags. And they are, on Flashpoint, they're like holding them up as bastions of what, freedom or something?
Listen, we all know that D.C. is a bunch of, it's the swamp and there's politics. But what we have to have is we must have men and women that will stand up for what's right for America, the whole, not just for what meets their own personal, private entities and their pork projects and what they want. Pastor Hank, this is a big deal. In fact, if I remember right, there was a prophetic word about this that came out.
Oh my God, dude. Hank Kunneman believes himself to be like some prophet of God who hears God's voice. This is just embarrassing, dude.
About those people will be revealed.
Yes. Well, I think we're in a very interesting time right now, Pastor Gene. And first and foremost, thank God that we're seeing people in our great country that we've elected start standing up. There should be no deal whatsoever. Bottom line is we stand with Texas and what they're doing to stand at a time when...
Well, Texas is defying the Supreme Court. They are telling... the Supreme Court ruled Texas needs to take razor wire down and leave border control to the federal government because the federal government controls federal borders, like with other countries. And Texas, the whole thing that started it is that Texas put razor wire in the water to cut children to ribbons. And guess what happened? Children were cut to ribbons by it. Supreme Court ordered them to remove the razor wire, and Texas is ignoring it. They're saying, no, we're not listening to the Supreme Court. That is some disturbing shit right there. Does it get more disturbing? Honestly. My God, dude.
When our country desperately needs order in the border. That's why border has the word order. But God...
That's why the word border has order? Is that why it has it? Okay.
Needs order in the border. That's why border has the word order. But God did say we're going to see some things begin to be exposed. We're going to see that there's been a lot of handshakes underneath the table, including the Ukraine, because we're in a governmental year, 2024.
Okay, there have not been, quote unquote, handshakes under the table for Ukraine. I don't want him to get away with any of this. I just want to point that out. That's made up nonsense.
24, there were 24 elders that sit with the risen, ascended Christ in the court of heaven. And the court of heaven is ruling now with its verdict. And in no way will God clear the guilty. And we're going to see righteousness and justice. And I'm going to tell you, Pastor Gene.
Dude, what the hell is he going on about? There were 24 elders. This is 2024. This guy needs to take off his conspiracy glasses.
I think we're going to see God do something with that bill that's going to bust it up. And I think we're going to continue to see that Texas may be a lone star, but other great states or stars in this great country are going to begin to stand with Texas. And there's going to be something that's going to shift this country, that we're going to see a unity out of the division, because God's going to use it to deliver this nation. He did it with the Red Sea. It parted on the right and the left, and God drowned the agenda of the Egyptians and delivered a nation in.
Dude, this is so ridiculous. He's like inextricably linking religious language, like he's connecting religious language. This is insane.
A day, and I believe this is where we're heading in this great country.
Well, let me show you let me show you this short video, and Andrew,
please.
I'm going to come to you out of this. Speaker Mike Johnson on Meet the Press talking about Joe Biden and the border. Watch.
The President of the United States opened the border. We documented.
No, he did not. He did not open the border. The border policy is effectively no different now than it was under Donald Trump. It's pretty much the same. He did not open the border. Okay, go on.
It's 64 specific actions that Joe Biden and his agencies have taken to create this catastrophe. They did it intentionally. That's why his approval rating is in the tank.
Okay, well, let's see it then. If you have the evidence of that or whatever, then show me. Let's see. Please, tell me what you're talking about. Prove to me that you're not completely full of shit, because right now it sure seems like you are. Like, this is completely made up.
60% of the people disapprove by your latest poll. The reason the presidency is imperiled, as your opening monologue stated, is because this is an abject failure of leadership. The American people are done with this. The border has to be secured. And the president has the authority right now. He doesn't need another act of Congress. He could.
Great, then give the act of Congress that he requested. If that's the case. If he doesn't need one, just do it. Just give him the one that he is asking for. And problem solved, right?
Do it right now, but he's unwilling to do it.
He's unwilling to do it. There, Andrew, I mean, he brings up a point that the mainstream media is not bringing up, the fact that he has the power right now to do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things that these people say that Flashpoint says the president has the power to do is very arguable and questionable. Like, for example, they would claim that Trump has the right to pardon himself. That's kind of question. I'm not convinced of that, you know? They can say he has the power to do this or that all they want, but that doesn't mean he actually has the power to do that stuff. Just grant him the thing that he wants. Why do they care? This is your fault. You did this, Republicans, people on this program. Andrew Womack and Hank Kunneman and Jean Bailey and whoever this woman is. You did this. You are continuing and perpetuating this. You want this solved. Let him pass the bill. And then if it doesn't work, you can complain about him some more and say, see, we did what he wanted and it never worked. They're not even passing the bill. This is a joke.
Let you comment.
Well, again, I think we need to notice that this is an election year. They've had 3 years to do something, and all they've done is make things worse. Kamala Harris is supposed to be in charge of the border, and man, if she is, what an abject failure. And
like, I don't know what the hell he's talking about right now, but this is just complete nonsense. Like, the border is not worse now than it was under Trump. It just isn't. The president has very little to do with very specific issues anyways. I mean, he has overarching control of things. I think he controls the border, or he can. There are some things he can do, like he can add agents to the border. He can add asylum judges and things like that. And he can separate children from their parents. That's an option too, the one that Trump seemed to have taken. But the point is that Biden did not, make this whole situation worse than it was under Trump. Like, it's just completely made up.
And so instead of looking at their ploys where they're trying to present themselves as if they're the ones who's going to solve this border crisis, we need to look at it that it's election. This is nothing but smoke and mirrors. And they are just, again, trying to position themselves. And people need to be smart enough not to judge them on what they are, quote unquote, saying, but look at what they've done. If we judge the Biden administration and the Democrats on what they've done, it is disgraceful. And I guarantee you, we all.
You are literally preventing them from fixing problems. Are you kidding me?
Ought to vote them all out. All of them.
I so agree.
That's my opinion.
I agree. I'm with you on that one.
Really? You're telling me that Andrew Womack and Jean Bailey agree with each other? Wow. Who could have guessed such a thing, huh? Color me surprised. These people are such a joke. They are only here to talk about how much they agree with each other. They're only here to love each other and argue that they're the best and they're 100% right and Trump is the best. And all this other nonsense. And the border is terrible. It was fantastic under Trump. It's terrible now. These people are a joke, man. Seriously.
All right, so if you're watching anything on social media or alternative media, you're seeing about what's going on at the border. Now,
I mean, or alternative media. Only because these people won't shut up about it.
we know that Texas is doing, Governor Abbott is doing a little bit there at Eagle Pass, but a half mile down the road, it's a wide open door. So this is not, don't think Texas.
I mean, it's a humanitarian corridor. Yeah. There's a humanitarian corridor as required by law to allow refugees to make it to a refugee center. A UN refugee center, yeah. Even if there was a fence built, that humanitarian corridor would still be there.
Got the whole border shut off. That's not the case. We still have a lot of room to grow, a lot of stuff that needs to happen here. But what they're trying to do is, and Andrew kind of it keeps pointing back to this, is the fact that we're dealing with an election year. Everything is about perception. How do you perceive this? How does the public perceive? Oh, Joe Biden's going to do something about the border. How does the public perceive that? Because they're trying to get you to vote. Oh, look, see, it's not really that bad. We're trying to close the border.
Like, it's not that bad. The border? No, these people are completely fabricating problems.
That's why you must pay attention to what you're seeing. All right? Here's 60 Minutes clip on navigating the border that I bet you didn't know. Watch.
We wonder.
By the way, don't trust these people. Don't trust a word out of their mouths. They lie for a living, okay? They edit this stuff and twist it and modify it and pretend that things are not the way that they appear and blah, blah, blah. They're not trustworthy at all. So, like, even if this were 60 Minutes, I would want to check the original clip before believing anything that they say.
How all of these migrants knew about this particular entryway into California. The answer was in their hands.
How do you know about that? Oh, Douyin, okay, TikTok.
Illegals finding detailed instructions on TikTok? What?
Oh, you learned on TikTok. Yeah.
TikTok is a social media platform created in China. The post we found had step-by-step instructions for hiring smugglers and detailed directions to that hole we visited.
I mean, good. I think people, first of all, we should be bringing in more immigrants. Bring in as many as we possibly can. They make this country stronger. They build our economy. They increase the stock market. They're buyers and sellers in the industry. They are valuable to our society. Bring them in. Throw the doors open. There's one reason not to accept immigrants into this country. I'm sure you can guess what it is. As far as refugees go, is that what they're talking about? Refugees? Because that's what it seems like they're talking about. Refugees are a totally different thing.
We were struck by just how orderly and routine it all seemed. The migrants walked about a half mile down a dirt road.
Yeah, it's called a humanitarian corridor. Are you serious?
Orderly and routine it all seemed. The migrants walked about a half mile down a dirt road and waited in line for U.S. Border Patrol to arrive so they could surrender.
Okay, Kyle.
Yes, so they can surrender. Yes, they are refugees. They just escaped a war-torn area. You must be joking with this. These people are absurd human beings.
Kylie Jean, they're getting information on TikTok. Are you kidding me?
More reason for more reason for the boomers that watch this TV show on the Victory Network to hate TikTok. Because it teaches immigrants how to get smuggled into America. Like, guys, come on. Get help. This is nuts.
That seems pretty strategic to me there, Gene. TikTok, in the algorithm that we see here in the United States, it's no secret that they're pumping out content that is brainwashing our youth, and it's educating our children to get more gains off of trendy dances. And we are giving a play-by-play action step for illegals to cross our borders and come into our nation. If you ask me, it is.
They're not illegals. They're refugees. They are. It is perfectly legal with an L, for them to come over the border. And it's illegal for people to stop them. They have to be processed at a UN refugee center. These people, look, get help, guys, for real. Get help. You know, they don't even give a shit about any of this. They don't care about immigrants in the country, more than likely. They don't care about any of it. You know what they care about? Fear-mongering and demonizing any group of people, honestly, anybody, until it gets the country whipped into a blood frenzy and all freaked out. And once they're all freaked out, they'll vote Republican, because the Republican Party is the party of fear.
It's so clear that it is an agenda with an attack on identity in every realm in our nation. A nation does not have a clear identity if it does not have secure borders. We see the attack on our youth with the...
Wow. Are you catching what she's throwing right now? You picking up what she's putting down? A nation doesn't have a clear identity if it has open borders. Let me spell that out for you if you're unsure of exactly what she's saying. Hang on. Brown people coming into the country are poisoning the blood of our country, of our culture. We want our culture to be white culture. And you are sending non-white people into our country. We need to prevent non-white people from entering the country over the border, so that we will be unified, one unified culture. You notice she's not complaining about Germans coming over, and overstaying their visas? It's interesting, isn't it? Why isn't she complaining about the Spanish people who overstay visas? Why isn't she complaining about, any number of people? I don't understand. She's only complaining about brown people and calling them terrorists. Seems pretty obvious why to me. It's just racism. It just boils down to racism, right? I don't know how else to say it. Agreed. We could take Canada like that if we wanted to, lol. Oh, yeah, for sure we could. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything, but yeah, we totally could. We could absolutely take Canada if we wanted. Just remember that, Canadians. Don't piss me off, or we'll take Canada. I'm just kidding. We love you, Canada. We wouldn't do that. Unless you forced us to. No, I'm kidding. Too white, yeah. Okay, just catching up here. Internship was required for college/university credit hours to complete a degree. Yeah. It sucks. So, yeah, anyway, she's interviewing, my wife, she's interviewing for a position as an intern. And I really don't like the fact that internships don't pay anything. I think that's really messed up, personally. But whatever.
The clear agenda that's coming through social media, that's happening in the classroom, that's happening to disband the nucleus family.
The nucleus family. What is a nucleus family? I thought a nucleus was the part of an atom that is at the center, contains neutrons and protons, circled by electrons, that kind of thing. I don't know what a nucleus is.
So it's very clear that there's something strategic and bigger than just what we see happening on the news.
Yeah, Pastor Hank, your thoughts there. Are people getting their directions on TikTok?
Well, I think what's amazing to me is they're all coming in with cell phones, and I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, that some are even been given cell phones to come into our country.
Oh my God, dude, give it a rest. This is so ridiculous. I don't know if it's true. Then don't say it if you don't know if it's true. You guys remember that whole Obama phone thing back in the day? I don't know if you guys remember this. I wasn't even really paying attention to politics at the time, but there were people who were getting cell phones with like 100 minutes a week or something. It was like an hour and a half a week or a month. It was almost nothing. They were getting these cell phones that were used for like emergency situations. If they didn't have any money, and if they, were on like welfare otherwise and stuff, they would get these cell phones from the government. And they were just cheap, terrible little cell phones that were emergency only. They couldn't even access the internet, to my knowledge. This might have been before smartphones existed, or were popular. The phones started going out to people during Obama's tenure, except it was a George Bush era policy that did it. It was not, they called them Obama phones. They were not Obama phones. They were George Bush phones. Like, these people are so disingenuous. Can it get more disingenuous than this? This is bad and ridiculous and sad. By the by, don't forget, pre-orders are up for my book if you want to check it out. It is owenmorgan.com/book.
And I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, that some are even been given cell phones to come into our country.
Like, I don't know if that's happening now. I think that program ended, like, after a little while. I have no idea. But, I mean, if they don't have a cell phone and they are applying for refugee status, and the government needs to be able to get a hold of them to let them know if they have refugee status granted or not, yeah, give them cell phones so we know where they are, so we can track and, like, follow up with them. Yeah. Again, don't even know if this is true. Probably not if Hank Kunneman is saying it.
So my prayer is that everybody with the cell phone is being tracked somehow so that they can be later on absolutely dealt with and do it the legal way to come into our country. But I will say this, you know why they want open borders? It's not just an election year. The Democratic Party for years have been wanting us to have what Jesus warned us about. He said, narrow is the gate or the way that leads to life, but wide open is the way that leads to destruction. So there isn't that they want to just have open borders. They want us to be open-minded to, like, mutilating our children with transgender mutilation. They want.
Dude, what does any of that have to do with borders? What does any of this have to do with, like, what does being trans have to do with borders? I don't understand. And also, didn't Jesus specifically say, you gave me water when I was thirsty, you gave me food when I was hungry, you gave me a place to sleep when I was, had nowhere to sleep, when I didn't have a home. And the sheep said, Lord, when did we do those things for you? And he said, what you did to the least of my brothers and sisters, you did to me. Now, tell me, who are the least of Jesus' brothers and sisters? I mean, we are all God's children, right? Quote unquote, on earth. Everybody. There's no exception. Mexicans are God's children, right? Now, refugees have gone through some deeply horrific things. They have gone through shit that's so ugly that they're willing to swim across a river with razor wire in it in hopes that maybe they'll be able to get to a safe place. That is how bad their lives have been. Many of them have probably had their families murdered. Some of them have probably been raped brutally. Some of them have probably had to bury their children in a shallow grave because the perpetrators were on their way back. The people who killed their family are coming. This is some real ugly stuff what some of these people have experienced. These are the least among us. These are the weakest among us. These are the least of Jesus' family. Now, what is Hank Kunneman doing to them? Somebody who actually has the power to advocate for policy change. Somebody who is capable of changing the minds of, I don't know, Donald Trump or the Republican Party generally. What is he doing? What is Hank doing? He is calling for the least among us, the least of Jesus' family, to be attacked or deported or whatever, to be mistreated terribly. Does Hank think he's getting into heaven? I guarantee you he's not. Like, I don't believe that heaven is real in the first place. But even if it is, Hank's not getting in. He's not. I mean, just based off of what the Bible says, that just based off of what Jesus said he expected for his people, Hank's not getting into heaven.
Mutilating our children with transgender mutilation. They want us to be open-minded to all the things that, violate the scriptures and violate moral.
Like, I don't care what you're open to. You do your own thing. Be my guest. Just let me do my thing. That's the problem. When he says they want us to be open to... No, I don't care what you're open to. I want to be able to get a trans-affirming surgery if I want. I want to be able to marry a man. What does that have to do with you? Where are you in this equation? Why are you inserting yourself in the equation anywhere?
Moral sanity and decency. So I think closing the border also is something that stands against their open, demonic, insane agendas. And I think we're going to start seeing God put his clamp down on it, and we're going to see our country come back as the Lord restrains these things.
He thinks that he's going to see the country come back. Okay. Well, when, Democrats continue to run things, what are you going to say then? When your flop flip prophecy, quote unquote, fails, what are you going to say then? Late August 2023. I'm sorry, late August 2021. This is a prophecy from God.
But watch, for you have heard the saying, flip, flop. But I speak to you this day, flop, flip. You say, what do you mean? I speak flop, flip, because the agenda of hell and those who have agreed and thought that they could steal this land through your election and steal the future from your children, it shall flop.
So the plan is going to flop, basically. The plan to steal the election from Donald Trump is going to flop, is what he claimed. Of course, there was no election theft. He lives in a fantasy land. But the claim is that it's going to fail. Okay, go on. So Trump is going to be in office for the 2021 term. 21 to 24, right? Go on.
And then, watch what shall arise. Whistleblowers after whistleblowers. They shall not only see that their agenda has flopped, they will begin to flip. And God says there will be a turning of my hand and a turning of their mouths. And they will speak loudly, and they will turn on one another, and they will expose one another to save what they would think their own future.
So the point is that this is a failed prophecy from Hank Kunneman. He claimed God told him that this stuff was going to happen, and it never did. This is a flop-flip prophecy, and it flopped terribly. So tell me again, Hank, tell me again how you are a prophet of God who has special insight into all of this stuff, and Trump is going to take things over, and God is going to restore everything to blah, blah, blah. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me more.
On it, and we're going to see our country come back as the Lord restrains these things.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, amen. And let it be quickly, Lord Jesus. All right. Andrew, let me show you this. This is Mike Pompeo testifying about the CCP threat. Does it really matter? Watch.
The CCP threat. Okay, there is no quote-unquote threat from the Chinese party, the way that they seem to believe that there is, at the very least. Yeah, China is very adversarial and combative with the United States, and they seem to be stealing intellectual property a lot. That's not great. I think we should be wary and very careful about China, but I also like to see the United States ramp down, de-escalate tensions. These people we're looking at on screen don't accept any of that. They just say CCP and connect it with evil. China bad.
Talked about China inside the gates. You know, we closed in the Trump administration the Chinese consulate in Houston, Texas. We didn't close it because we disliked them. We closed it because they were conducting what I believe is one of the largest espionage operations ever against the American people from that very facility. They're in our universities today, operating to steal our finest high-end research. These things matter to American economic growth for years in front of us. And if we get it wrong, then our children and grandchildren will live in America that looks fundamentally different. We can't permit that to happen. And so it is not about something 6,000 miles away. It is about something just down the street for you, your family, and your neighbors.
Okay, I don't like Mike Pompeo. He is absolutely terrible. But yeah, China is spying on, I guess you could say, spying on the United States. He is definitely doing everything he can, or I'm sorry, they are definitely doing everything they can to get the upper hand in this situation, for better or worse. And, you know, the United States needs to grapple with that. It's not easy to deal. I mean, that's world politics. But these people fearmonger and complain and cry and say that, like, Joe Biden works for China or some other nonsense like that. It's just insane, man. It's insane.
Okay, Andrew, your thoughts on that?
You know, I agree with everything that Mike is saying, but let me go back to 1989 of November when the Berlin Wall came down, and everybody was saying, man, this is the end of the evil empire, and we are going to see unprecedented peace.
Talking about the Berlin Wall, when it fell, it was kind of the mark of the end of the USSR and the end of the Cold War. Although it didn't ever really end. I mean, there have always been tensions between the East and the West. Unfortunately, that's just what it is. Would love to do something to quell tensions, but here we are.
And I knew the scripture that says when they say peace, peace, there is no peace.
Oh my God, he's pulling up the Bible again. Jesus, dude. Jehovah's Witnesses think that there's going to be a moment in the end of the, you know, like the Great Tribulation. It's going to be marked by government officials claiming that there is peace on earth and then discovering that religion is the source of pain and suffering and evil. And the UN is going to ban all religion. That's the claim, basically. I don't know what these guys believe about it. But I guess I'm assuming that they believe that, like, what, this is like a part of prophecy or something? I don't know.
And so I got to praying, and I said, Father, what's going to happen? And this is in 1999, when this certainly wasn't on my radar. But the Lord said, in your lifetime, you are going to see the Communist Party in China be a worse threat than the Soviet Union ever was.
I bet. And it's just now coming to you, right? In 2024, he just now told you it's okay for you to tell everybody else that you heard this in 1999? Right.
And so I didn't see that immediately, but I think that we are entering into that, and everything that Mike Pompeo is saying, as well as many others who are blowing the alarm. I think that China is a real danger to the United States, and that we need to take every precaution we can.
Dude, this guy is such a joke.
We went back to the Trump era policies where he had put, import restrictions on them and tariffs and things like that. It was bringing China to their knees.
It was.
Okay, I see it was bringing China to their knees, and I raise you, tariffs are not attacks on China. Tariffs are attacks on American citizens. We are paying that price. The people that are importing or exporting goods or outsourcing or whatever, they are paying that price, and guess what? They're passing those costs on to the consumer. So you and I are paying more every time there are tariffs. Now, sometimes tariffs are a good idea. Sometimes making it more difficult to outsource is desirable. It just, it depends. But I don't believe that Donald Trump has any idea what he's doing. And I don't believe for a second that these people even care that he knows what he's doing. I think what they care about is China bad and Donald Trump good. That's it. It's that simple.
And we really had them in a compromised position. And of course, Biden and his son have been taking money from them.
No, they haven't. Oh my God, dude. Just like Donald Trump, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, and every other rich person out there, they have investments in all foreign countries' stock markets. They have investments in Germany's stock market, in China's, in Russia's, in everything, because you want a wide array of investments. If the American economy drops, you don't lose everything. That's the point. Hunter Biden owned stake in some company in China, and he sold off that company. That's it. It was a transaction that came from China, not from the Chinese government. It came from China. It's very different. But okay, keep fear-mongering.
And they have given them favored status that is hurting us.
Sure is. And that's why, again, it's an election year. Elections have consequences. Why it's so important that you look everything with your eyes wide open. Pastor Hank, before we go to the break, please, let's pray over the border and this whole Chinese connection.
God, these people are a joke.
Yep. Once again, Father, we thank you that you are the God, that the power of the Holy Spirit came over the very womb of Mary with the Christ inside because of the power of your glory. We are asking once again that same Holy Spirit, the power of God that restrains evil, would come now and hover over the border to restrain evil, restrain those who have come to steal, kill, and destroy, and cause an order to come to the border that the entire country would benefit from the hand of God that shall bring forth peace at this time. We are calling upon you, God, for you already said when we come boldly, we would receive your grace, we would receive your mercy, and we would receive help in the time of need.
Dude, what a wild prayer.
Thank you that is absolutely manifesting at this time over the border and this great country. And concerning China, lastly, Lord, you are the one that can absolutely restrain the fire of Red China. For even in their own nation, they shall begin to chase their own tail, as they will have an economic spinning that will begin to happen, that they will chase their tail. But more than that, a rumbling shall begin to be heard from the underground, the soil of China. And it shall be the stirring of the underground church that shall bring great victories, but distractions to China. And we thank you for your hand now in Yeshua's name.
It is wild to me that these people have integrated politics into their religion. Like, they're indistinguishable from each other now. Was that a religious prayer or a political prayer? Was that a call for, like, political changes or what? It is so bizarre to hear them say these things, like, constantly. It is just wild.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. Keep the faith up. Don't get crazy. Don't wig out on me. We're going to...
Don't get crazy, he says.
See this thing through. Just stay engaged. Stay included. All right. Yeah. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more from Colorado.
Yeah, that's the end of it. Wow, dude. That is wild. Anyway, tell me what you think about it. That is something else.